I'm dating someone else. My wife delivered the words like a single, poison dart, right before the party. I had to go, of course, but the real storm was yet to break. When I finally walked into that room with a stunning woman, a vision of sharp confidence in black velvet, my wife simply went crazy. Her rage was immediate, a blinding flash of desperate ownership. She accused me, the audacity chilling me to the core, of cheating. And that was the moment. That breath-held moment, before the entire room, when I deployed a single, surgical sentence that shut her up completely, and watch, with cold satisfaction, her lover run away. If you made it this far, leave a like, share or subscribe to help grow our channel, and keep it alive for more dramatic stories that will surely give you some much-needed awareness. Now to the rest of the story. The precise memory is a sliver of ice in my mind. I was simply tying my left shoe, preoccupied with the mundane ritual of getting ready, when her voice, flat, almost bored, as if she were checking the weather, hit me from behind. I'm seeing someone else. That was all. No tremor, no build-up, no warning. Just that sudden, brutal amputation of our life. I didn't even turn around. Not right away. I remember my gaze locked on the loop of the shoelace in my fingers, feeling like a man who had suddenly forgotten the simple mechanics of living. The television babbled in the background, a stupid commercial for cruise deals, and the actor's voice, ironically cruel, urged, sail towards something new. I almost laughed, a raw, ragged sound that would have betrayed everything. Instead, I compressed the universe into a small, two-syllable word. I blinked twice, focusing the sudden, seismic shift in my reality. I said, okay. That was it. That's all I gave her. No volcanic yelling, no humiliating crying, not even the desperate curiosity of, who is he? Just, okay. Behind me, I felt her freeze. I heard the minuscule hesitation in her breath, a subtle, rising panic. She had, I think, expected the grand collapse, the cinematic devastation. She expected me to fall apart, to beg, to bleed, to blame. I denied her the spectacle. I did not. I rose, moving with a terrifying, unnatural slowness, adjusted my collar in the mirror, and walked past her. She flinched when my shoulder brushed against hers. Not from the contact itself, but because I executed the movement without so much as a glance. As if she were a piece of furniture in a room I was leaving forever. Are you really not going to say anything? She finally whispered, the question laced with disbelief. I grabbed my keys from the hook. You have already said everything. Where are you going? The question was now tinged with a raw fear of the unknown. To the party. I said I was invited too, remember? But I thought. You thought I would stay home and mourn? No. You are not the only one who knows how to fake a smile. She did not follow me then. She was too stunned, too bewildered by the absence of the reaction she craved. But I knew she would. And what transpired at that party, what I chose to unveil in front of everyone, was the precise, inescapable mechanism that would leave her utterly shattered. Not my silence, not the subterranean roar of my pain, but the cold, premeditated nature of my response. And trust me, I was nowhere near finished. The outside air slammed into me, a visceral, physical slap. It wasn't the coldness. Everything inside me was burning, a fierce, white-hot buzzing of adrenaline and betrayal. My pulse was not fast, but terrifyingly deliberate. Each beat a heavy drum reminding me of a terrible, undeniable truth. I was still alive. I could hear her, a faint presence behind me on the porch, but I refused to grant her the satisfaction of looking back. She didn't follow me to the car. She was probably just standing there, watching me pull out of the driveway, delusional enough to think she had won, that she had handled it well, that I would dissolve into tears in traffic. Perhaps she imagined I'd circle the block a few times and slink home once the emotion had passed. But she did not know me as well as she thought. Not anymore. I did not cry. I did not circle the block. I did not allow myself to think. I drove straight to that rooftop party. The place was a deceptive sanctuary, crowded and strung with warm, twinkling lights, as if someone had deliberately tried to turn a broken heart into a celebration. Everyone held a drink, their laughter too loud, their hugs too familiar, as if they had all survived some catastrophic event to which I alone had not been invited. I walked through them, a ghost in the crowd. No one noticed me at first. I was merely the guy who arrived alone, underdressed, with a whole storm behind his eyes. Then, I heard it. Civil. He shouted my name, and for a fleeting moment, I was surprised he even remembered it. She, Civil, hugged me tightly, whispering how glad she was that I had actually come. I forced a smile, not out of genuine happiness, but because smiling now felt like a weapon, one she would never, ever expect me to use. Then, precisely 10 minutes later, my wife appeared. No, a correction is necessary. The woman who used to be my wife before she opened her mouth an hour ago. And the suspense deepened, because she did not come alone. He was with her, tall, tan, the kind of tan you don't earn by working hard, but by playing tennis on a Wednesday afternoon. His shirt was unbuttoned just enough, a gold chain winking under the lights, a brazen accomplice that seemed to know all my most painful secrets. They entered the space laughing. That sound, that careless, shared joy, broke something inside of me that I hadn't even known was still intact. She saw me almost instantly. Her smile did not just fade. It fell from her face as if it had never truly belonged there. He, oblivious and self-satisfied, did not notice, too busy being charming to someone near the bar. She made her relentless way towards me. I remained rooted exactly where I was, sipping whatever they had poured into the nearest glass I could grab. "I did not think you would actually come," she said in a low, conspiratorial voice, eyes darting nervously around the room, terrified of being overheard. "You invited me. You know that was not for real." "Yes," I countered, the word clipped and precise. "Neither were your vows." The effect was immediate. She froze. "I did not come here to fight," she said, her arms crossing defensively, her voice tight with tension. "I did not come here for you," I replied, meeting her eye, my gaze cold and steady. "But I might leave with someone else." Her jaw tightened. She looked away, suddenly finding the room too bright, as if the inevitable consequences had finally materialized and caught up to her. She hadn't even begun to grasp the magnitude of what was coming. Because I had not just shown up to be seen, I came to perform. She stood there blinking, struggling to process the clean brutality of my statement. Perhaps she still expected a loud, embarrassing scene, something messy that would allow her to play the victim, that would give her an excuse to cry on her new man's chest and hiss, "See, this is why I had to leave him." I refused to give her that solace. I walked away, not rapidly, not with melodrama, but cleanly, controlled, as if she were a sudden, tedious afterthought. This time, she didn't follow. It was ironically funny how quickly she learned to stay behind. I found a quiet spot near the glass railing overlooking the skyline. The city stretched below, so deceptively peaceful, its lights twinkling as if nothing in the world was collapsing. I took another sip of the drink, rose or grapefruit, I didn't care. It tasted sharp, and I liked that. That's when I saw her new guy again, momentarily alone. She must have slipped away to powder her conscience, or something equally trivial. He was laughing, immersed in a story, surrounded by coworkers I vaguely recognized. I watched him. The expansive gestures, the casual, possessive touch on a coworker's arm, the way he subtly checked his reflection in the glass when he thought no one was looking. He wasn't just with her. He enjoyed being with someone else's wife. There is a crucial, defining difference. The healthy, rational version of me would have left, gone home, cried over a pizza box, deleted social media, started a journal, the usual male ritual for a broken heart. But standing there, watching him move so easily in my world, probably with a trace of her lipstick still on his collar, something dark and resolute shifted. I pulled out my phone, not to text her, but to call upon a ghost, a name I hadn't spoken in over a year. Mira was the only woman my wife had ever truly felt threatened by. We never crossed the physical line, but the emotional tension had been nuclear. Years ago, during one drunken night at a hotel bar in Chicago, the line almost fractured, but I chose loyalty and went home to my wife. She chose Eli. "Mira," I typed, "you still look good in black." Her reply landed in under 30 seconds. "Why? Are you getting married or buried?" I stared at her message, and for the first time in weeks, a genuine, if brittle, smile touched my lips. "Neither," I wrote, "but I need a favor. Are you free tonight?" A loaded pause. Then, "Send the address." And just like that, the final, devastating plan clicked into place. This wasn't merely revenge. Not yet. But it was the launch of a moment she would never recover from. Not tonight. Not ever. I hadn't told Mira everything. I didn't need to. The simple fact that I was texting her after so long told her that something was profoundly wrong. And her immediate, unquestioning yes spoke volumes about how she still felt. She arrived 40 minutes later, stepping out of the elevator in a black velvet dress and heels that added a powerful verticality. Her hair was longer, darker, sleeker, and her inherent confidence had evolved from quiet surety to something surgical. The moment she appeared, half the room turned, and in that group was my wife. I watched the slow-motion collision from across the rooftop. The exact instant my wife's eyes locked onto Mira, something in her face tightened, not fear, but pure, unadulterated jealousy. It was like seeing a ghost, a formidable version of her own past she thought she had successfully buried. Mira didn't acknowledge her. She didn't spare her a glance. She came straight to me and hugged me like she belonged there. "You did not say it was this kind of party," she whispered against my ear. I shrugged, the gesture belying the storm inside. It was not supposed to be. Mira pulled back, eyes scanning the crowd with cool evaluation. "Let me guess. The blonde in the sequin dress over there by the fire pit." I nodded once. She smirked. "Amateur." She took my arm without being asked, a public, decisive movement, staking a claim, or maybe just borrowing me for the night. And that is when the real show began. We walked slowly, deliberately, through the clusters of guests, who suddenly registered my presence. The attention was electric. I could feel their eyes following the line of Mira's legs, assessing my own unreadable expression, dissecting our tight body language. People who hadn't given me the time of day all year were now offering a sudden, polite, "Hey man, good to see you." The fakes were instant, transparent. Even Eli noticed. He tried to mask it, but his self-satisfied smile visibly dimmed when he saw Mira. She was the kind of woman who made men reevaluate their entire relationships mid-conversation. She radiated an undecipherable, dangerous energy, completely and powerfully uninterested in what people thought of her. My wife approached us as if she were walking into a shootout. "Can we talk?" she asked, without ever taking her eyes off Mira. I tilted my head, feigning mild curiosity. "Now you want to talk?" "Just a minute alone." Mira looked at me, then at her, a knowing, lethal smile playing on her lips. "Oh, I will stay right here," she purred, ownership radiating off her. "Take your time." We moved a short distance away, maybe 10 feet, just enough to give the illusion of privacy. "You brought her," she hissed, accusation thick in her voice. "You brought him," I countered, my voice dangerously calm. "It is not the same." "You are absolutely right," I agreed. "He is new. Mira is a memory from the past." Her jaw clenched so tightly I feared her teeth might literally crack. "Are you doing this to hurt me?" "No," I said, leaning in slightly, my voice dropping to a low intensity. "That part is already over. This is just the part where I stopped bleeding and let you watch." She swallowed hard. Her eyes were glassy, desperate. She wanted to scream, but she couldn't. The entire room was watching. And that's precisely when Mira, with impeccable timing and a fresh drink in hand, materialized beside her. She looked directly at my wife and said, with a sweetness that tasted like venom, sweet as honey, "Thank you for lending him to me. I'll have him back to you by Monday." I'm quite sure I witnessed a human being's soul leave their body in real time that night. And I was far, far from finished. She said nothing, her silence a stunned aftermath, the kind that follows a horrific accident. Her mouth opened, closed, tried to form a syllable, and failed twice before she simply gave up, walking away without a word. She didn't return to him, nor to the bar. She just vanished toward a quiet corner, somewhere to find air. But I didn't follow. I turned to Mira and asked her to dance. The DJ was playing a 90s pop remix that was utterly incongruous with the emotional landscape, but we moved to the edge of the rooftop anyway. Mira was effortless. She always had been. She didn't care about the witnesses. She wasn't performing. She just moved with me as if we had never stopped. The whispers intensified. I let them. I welcomed them. Across the room, I saw Eli, alone now, looking profoundly uncomfortable, drinking too quickly, pretending to be engrossed in his phone. No one was laughing at his jokes anymore. The spotlight had moved. And then, she was back. She found me again. Same spot, same suffocating tension. "Can we please talk?" she asked, and this time, there was a palpable hint of panic in her voice, as if a vital thread inside her had finally snapped. I looked at Mira. She gave me a slight, understanding nod. "I'll be at the bar." When my wife and I moved away, I could see her gasping for breath, as if she'd just sprinted 5 blocks. She was disintegrating, desperately clutching at the last remaining threads of her composure. "This is not fair," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of her distress. "For whom?" "For me," she insisted, blinking back tears. "For you." She wiped her eyes, smearing her makeup, the physical sign of her unraveling. "You don't understand. I did not plan this. The thing with him just happened. Things have been bad between us for a long time, and you did not even notice." Because I was too busy fixing things, I interrupted her, my voice rising in a tight, contained wave of fury. "Things that you kept breaking in the dark, and then pretended you didn't know how they got that way. I did not cheat on you out of hate," she said, a raw confession spilling out. "I just felt invisible." The moment those words left her mouth, something twisted deep inside me, a profound, sickening irony. "Invisible," I repeated, letting the word hang in the charged air. "That's funny, because I was the one who was invisible. I stood in every room next to you, introducing myself as your husband, while people smiled at me as if I were a waiter who forgot their drinks." She opened her mouth, ready to launch into a new defense, but I cut her off. "I gave you everything I had, and you handed it over to someone who doesn't even know what your favorite movie is." "He does know." "No, he thinks he knows." "It is. Why are you letting him date the version of you that I helped build?" That question was a final, undeniable truth. It shut her up, and in the profound silence, I saw something flicker in her face. Not just shallow guilt or simple regret, but genuine, agonizing loss. She realized she hadn't just broken something, she had burned it down. And now, she was watching the precious, irreplaceable ashes slip through her fingers in real time. "You don't have to hate me," she said quietly. "I don't hate you," I replied, the emotion too vast for that simple word. "I just don't have to respect you anymore." She flinching as if I had struck her. Good, because that was the precise moment she ceased to be the woman I loved and became, irrevocably, the one who ruined everything. She didn't follow me this time. She stood there, her shoulders slumped, her eyes darting around as if she could will our conversation to dissolve into the noise. But it wouldn't. People saw it. People noticed. And Mira saw it all. I returned to Mira. She offered me a fresh drink as if nothing had occurred. That was Mira's enduring quality. She never got flustered. She didn't need drama. She was the drama if you pushed her hard enough. And I think she could sense that I was rapidly approaching that crucial internal boundary where raw pain finally curdles into performance. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly, the question cutting through the noise. "Not even close," I said. "But I'm ready for what?" "For the closing." My kind of closing. I walked over to the microphone. Civil's party wasn't just socializing. He had planned speeches, toasts, inside jokes. I was, of course, not on the list. But the audio guy recognized me from an old barbecue and, in a moment of unwitting complicity, asked, "Do you want to say something? Be quick, Bill is on in 10. I smiled. "I'll be brief." I lied. The microphone feedback was the first sound heard, a piercing static that instantly cut through the rooftop chatter. Every head turned. I cleared my throat, scanning the crowd until my eyes landed precisely on hers, standing next to him, her drink frozen halfway to her lips. "Hello, everyone." I began, my voice terrifyingly steady, calm, almost too calm. "I know I'm not on the program, but I just wanted to take a quick moment to say something. Not to Civil, although happy birthday, but to someone else in this room. She is wearing a silver dress," I narrated, my voice clear and deliberate. "And she told me about an hour ago that she has been sleeping with someone else. Not just sleeping with him, but laughing with him, planning with him, hiding things, real things, things you only share when you have decided that someone new is worth destroying what you already have." A sharp, collective intake of breath swept through the guests. "And I'm not saying this to embarrass her," I continued, the lie thin and cruel. "Although, let's be honest, she did a great job of that on her own. I'm saying this because some people only understand consequences when the lights are on and everyone is watching." I turned, addressing her directly across the horrified silence. She was not breathing. Eli was red, already subtly moving away from her, as if she had suddenly become radioactive. "You wanted to tell me before the party?" I spoke into the microphone, my eyes locked on hers. "Well, now the party knows. I guess that makes us even." I handed the microphone back to the stunned DJ. I turned without another word and walked toward the elevator, Mira instantly, silently, by my side, powerful in her restraint. The elevator chimed. The doors opened. I didn't look back, but as the doors began to close, I heard it. Not a scream, not a sob, but a single, brittle sound, a glass shattering against the concrete. Whether she dropped it or threw it, I will never know. And I don't care, because that was the precise moment I stopped being the man she left behind and started being the one she should have never let go. The silence in the car descending from the rooftop was far heavier than the music had been. Mira didn't speak. She didn't need to. She drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting on the armrest between us, her fingers occasionally brushing mine. Not like a lover, not yet, but like someone grounding me, anchoring me to reality, making sure I didn't drift back to that place where betrayal silently rots your spine from the inside out. I should have felt triumphant, euphoric, as if I had won. But winning does not feel like a parade. It feels like taking a deep breath alone for the first time in years, and realizing how desperately shallow your breathing had become all along. When she dropped me off at my house, Mira didn't ask to come in. She just leaned over before I got out and said, "That was brutal. Not just for her, but for you too. Don't pretend it did not cost you something." I nodded, the truth of her words a physical weight. I opened the door and said the only thing I could. "Thank you for reminding me who I used to be." Inside, the house was a vacuum of silence. Candles we lit weeks ago had long burned out, their melted wax pooling into strange, accusing shapes that looked like evidence. I sat in the dark for a long time. No lights, no music, just the low, insistent hum of the refrigerator and the occasional passing car. Then, I heard the knock. Not a desperate banging, but two soft, testing taps. She didn't wait for me to open. She tried the knob, found it unlocked, and walked in as if she still possessed the irrevocable right. She stood in the doorway, framed by the street lamp, her makeup smudged, her silver dress wrinkled, her heels clutched desperately in her hand. "I did not know where else to go," she whispered. "That is not true," I replied. She didn't argue. She came further in, stopping abruptly in the center of the living room, afraid, it seemed, to touch anything, as if the very air might accuse her. "Everyone was looking at me like I was trash," she confessed. Even Eli. He left early, by the way. He did not say a word. He just disappeared." "You chose him," I stated flatly. "No," she snapped back, a flash of defensiveness. "I chose wrong. It is not the same." I stood up, walked past her, and poured myself a glass of water, a mundane task performed while I was dying to throw it in her face. She followed me to the kitchen. "Please," she pleaded. "Let me explain." "You already did tonight," I interrupted her, cutting through her voice like a knife. "When you laughed with him. When you told me before the party just to ease your guilt. When you walked in there with another man on your arm, as if I were roadkill in your rear-view mirror. I did not think you would actually show up." "Exactly," I cut her off one last time. "You thought I would stay home and make myself small." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time, the emotional connection was severed. I did not care. Tears only carry meaning when they precede the disaster. "I still love you," she insisted, her voice breaking. And for a single, stupid muscle memory second, my body reacted. My chest tightened, my breath hitched. Hearing those words from the person who had shattered you hits like static in your bones. But my mind had already moved on. I left the door unlocked. I said slowly, emphasizing each word. "Not because I wanted you to come back, but because I wanted you to see that even when you could walk in, you no longer belong here." Her lip trembled. You don't mean that. Yes, I do, I confirmed. And you think so too. You just took too long to say it. She took a step back, then another. And when the door closed behind her, I felt something I had not felt in months. Stillness. Not peace. Not yet. But the vast, quiet space where peace could finally grow. It has been 5 weeks since that night. I have replayed it 1,000 times. The party, the speech, the terrifying silence that followed. For a while, I questioned everything. Not just her raw betrayal, but my own. No, the cheating. I never touched anyone. But I betrayed myself for years. I let my voice become silent. I let my needs become optional. I let her rewrite who I was just because she didn't like the original draft. That was my true fault. But this is the fierce, undeniable lesson of pain. It forces you to see clearly. I finally grasped that she had let go long before Eli ever came along. I was just desperately holding on tighter, foolishly believing that if I squeezed hard enough, the spreading cracks would not spread. But cracks don't care about effort. They spread anyway. And now, I can finally whisper the truth. She was gone long before she packed her bags. I just wasn't ready to open the door and truly let her absence in. Now I am. The apartment is different now. Brighter, cleaner, quiet in a truly good way. I donated the couch we picked out together. I changed the locks. I took down the wedding photo. I didn't burn it. I'm not that dramatic. I simply put it away, like an old book I've already read and don't need to reread to remember how it ends. Mira, she is still around. Not a whirlwind, not a messy rebound, just around. Sometimes we text. She comes over with takeout, and we don't talk about the past. We talk about movies, politics, that annoying neighbor who always forgets trash day. She doesn't pressure me, doesn't ask me what I want next, and I love her for that. For the first time in a very long time, I don't feel like a supporting character in someone else's story. I have started writing again. Just small things, posts, journal entries, even some half-finished songs I'll probably never show anyone. It's not about being good. It's about feeling like the process is mine again. Sometimes I walk past mirrors and don't recognize the man staring back, but not because I'm lost. Because I'm changing. I still have bad days. Mornings where her ghost lingers in the shape of the bed. Nights where I wonder if I was ever truly enough, or if I just tried too hard to become someone who could be. But those days are fading. One truth remains, a bedrock that keeps me moving. She may have broken my heart, but I decide what grows in the ruins. And this time, it is going to be something of my own.